Steve. 3, 2, 1.
Hey, it's Steve Zelnardo here with Real Estate on the Market?
On record. Real
On
estate
record.
on record.
This is like
3, 2,
Estate on
1.
Hey, it's Steve Zelnardo here with Real Estate on Record podcast. We're going to talk about all markets situations, so a buyer's market, a seller's market, and a balanced market. We're going to just jump right into it here with Mike Addy. Mike, what do you think of currently? What kind of market are we in?
Let's start off. Where did you come from? What market did you come from with that time?
This lovely, complexion here of a darker pigment is from Florida. So yeah,
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Nice and fresh.
2
Making us
months
all
in
the time.
Florida with the office there, so we're back and forth naturally every month. But yeah, that was a long stint just based on current situations, coming back and forth. But yeah, that's and this is actually staying out of the sun. You only go in the sun a few days. Maybe you get 1 or 2 beach days, right?
Yeah.
But it's good. Yeah.
Grinding down there.
Yeah. You look good too, Mike.
Yeah,
You got rosy cheeks and everything
Yeah, nice windburn from plowing a few driveways this weekend. It was fantastic.
for the open houses.
Yeah, it was great. It was great.
I love it.
So let's talk about the market. So we got a buyer's market, a seller's market, and we have balanced market. So Steve, why don't we start off with the buyer's market?
Yeah. Buyer's market would have been probably what we saw the last 6 months, except let's say like Jan Feb of this year. But yeah, the last 6 to 8 months was definitely a buyer's market where sellers were, having houses priced, let's say even for example $2 million, they're selling for 1.6 and change. So it was like a massive adjustment to the top of the market. But ultimately now it's starting to switch. We've had a very active like Jan Feb, where we're starting to see. I mean, we were talking about this where we're starting to see prices getting back to 22 pricing, like in some bidding war situations.
Yeah.
On the lower housing pricing, like that $800 to $1.2 million mark's been really active, right?
100%. So like you said, going back pre-Jan Feb was I guess our buyer's market, but now we're kind of going into a little bit of a seller's market where everything I'm looking at has an offer date. Are all the offer dates working? I wouldn't say every single one is working, but for the right product that's turnkey, ready, move-in ready, like we have an offer date tomorrow night, and we're probably up to almost 60 showings with the open
Wow.
house. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
maybe 55, 60 showings, and we're probably gonna be able to help out the seller, and it'll be a little bit of a seller's market where we should get a few offers at the offer date. So going into the seller's market now that the tides have turned a little bit, we're definitely seeing more buyer demand and not enough supply. So we're at like 10,000 units, and we've been pretty consistent the last few weeks where we're not getting a lot of good inventory coming out where, the qualified buyer right now is able to, obviously they're qualifying at 6.5%, 7%. They're able to jump in and go put in an over asking offer, right?
You got to give it to these buyers that are qualified at these rates. I mean, what's the posted prime rate? It's 5.6.
Somewhere around there. Yeah.
And then they have to qualify 200 basis points over.
Yeah.
So they're at 7.6 qualification, and they're still paying on some of these properties like 22 pricing. That's a qualified buyer. That's
100%.
obviously a massive down payment and also, I mean, great income in the whole thing, right? That's fantastic that it's still moving at this pace. I mean, I was talking earlier. I mean, we'll get into this probably another subject. It's just the lag time, right? Like we know, like the prime rates held, or the overnight lending rates held at 4.5%. Is the Fed's going to raise the rates anymore? I don't think so. I think we're going to stay stationed at this amount just based on everything. But it's the lag time that's going to give us what the true story is. And I always make this analogy that real estate is like it's like a cruise ship. When it turns, it takes a long time to turn and maneuver. It's not like a let's say a speedboat, like what the stock market would be, where there's some bad news gets released in the afternoon, and an hour later, like the market's flat. So this is like a more of a longer process to kind of tell us the true story of what's currently happening in the market. Even with me, I'm not going to change opinions on where I feel like this year is going to be on the market itself. I still think it's going to be like that 23 to remember. That's what I keep calling it. And right now we're just in that lag time period where we're still getting a huge influx of buys. Jan, Feb, March, we're selling everything, and we'll see what happens. Back when April is usually that month. I don't know what it is, like for my experience here selling real estate the last 13 years. April's that month that kind of tells me what's going to happen for the next few quarters after that. So let's see what happens.
It's been interesting how it's always landed right in April.
Yeah, so-
Moving forward.
Beginning of second quarter, right?
Yeah.
So-
What about your take on Canadian market versus American market?
So I'll talk only specifically about one state, right? Because I think the other states that are that will be affected similar to Toronto, right? Like if you get to New York, but like any of those other states, right, that will be affected similar to Toronto's market. I feel like the Florida market, even the Texas market, might hold up a lot better than, let's just say, the normal markets, just based on the influx of people moving in and paying cash for everything. So it's not a heavily leveraged, let's say, state.
So if
Rather.
Mike was one of your clients and they came to you and said, "All right, Steve, are we in a buyer's market, seller's market, or is the market starting to balance?" What would your take be to Mike?
You can answer, Mike.
In Toronto?
Yeah, based on where you guys are situated.
So right now, I would say we have a little bit of a seller's market to a certain degree. I wouldn't say it's like a full seller's market. Maybe just benefiting them a little bit, because there are so many buyers that are actually showing up that are qualified right now to buy. Right. So right now, I would say we're in a little bit of seller's market, but I would say that was the last 4 weeks only. Prior to that, I was dragging agents to come back and see
Yes.
do second showings. Like I would say early January. So I would say third week of January this year is when we really started to see that turn. So right now, it's slight seller's market, yeah, for sure.
But it depends what kind of buyer. If you were a first time buyer, I would say hold
First-time
tight.
buyer.
Yeah, I would say hold tight a bit. You're in no rush. Like we're seeing, obviously, like we're seeing increase in price in this last couple months. That's fine. But again, I gotta believe that lag time's gonna tell the true story to what the future of what Toronto real estate is gonna be worth in the future, right?
2024.
Yeah, well, I mean, you'll see now. Like, I think by October. Listen, if everything goes to where it should be, if April comes around and the market just flattens itself and everyone starts, like the true colors are starting to be shown. Like we're talking to, Mike's got a whole network of people that he talks to outside of real estate that are tied up in mortgages and stuff like that and development. I have the same type of people that I chat with. A lot of that industry right now is kind of worried. I remember talking to one client that was always bullish, and despite everything I've been telling him and watching me unload everything, and then you talked to him last week, like specifically. What's today? March 6th. So literally last week, so the beginning of March or like end of Feb, and it was like I spoke to many people right now that are in the the higher echelon of like development and also like money lending. He goes, they're all worried. And these are not like little guys like me. What am I, a toothpick, right? Like I'm a straw in a needle or whatever, straw in a bale of hay.
Needle in a haystack.
Whatever, yeah. Like literally, I'm a little piece of this puzzle. Like ultimately, if these guys are billionaires and money lenders that do construction financing, and they're worried because they're not getting paid on the money that they got lent out because of developers that are borrowing the money. It can't sell anything or can't get the product finished in time because of costing, and also, but it's also the sale process. If they can't get them sold, like how are you going to pay back your debt? So that's an issue, and that's what they're starting to see now. So this is, it is what it is. It's going to take time. It's a lag time, right? Real estate is going to take time. You're going to see it's compounded. When people can't pay their mortgage monthly, and then what that affects is the people that lent them the money. Someone's got to make a decision there. So even if these big banks going to pull these big projects, like they're funding maybe, I don't know, $50 million projects or $100 million projects, they're going to claw back this project. What are they going to do with it?
What are they gonna do with it?
Yeah. In the past, like I don't want to talk specific which areas because then the people that are lending money, but ultimately there were sites that they clawed back that were like $20 million invested into like sewers and streets. Everything was already done, but the builder didn't go forward with it. Like he couldn't afford to bring it any further. So they took back the site. They have like 3 phases, like 1,000 houses to be built. It's all profit, but that was in a good market. And these people do this historically where builders can't get to the next phase of the development. And then ultimately these guys just take it back and then they're the bankers, but they also become the developers. So it's a great way to look at it, right? Like you lend the money out, you make your points for so long, and then ultimately you take back the project. Now you're the builder, you make all that profit. But right now, what are you going to do with these projects? Like, I don't see the value.
Do you agree, Mike? Do you agree?
100%, and that's where these companies are going to flourish, right? Where they're going to separate themselves from anyone else because now they're left with this asset. for pennies on the dollar, not pennies, but like say half the price, and they're gonna go develop it, and they don't have to develop it tomorrow. They'll develop it in
Yeah.
15 years from now, right? So
What you're saying is this market, it's not the right market to do that gamble.
No, it's not. No, it is. It is. You can do it, but you got to be strategic when doing it. Like you got to have. Like, so look, if somebody feels like they're paying too much for something because it's too much of a gap, even though it's market value, you did your job wrong as a realtor. Like listen. Not everybody knows what a house is worth for. You know what I'm saying? Like, let's just say if it's worth 1.6 million, I think you go live at 12.99, like just shy of 1.3, leave that gap.
I think that the biggest problem here is that, like, other agents too, they kind of think that the bidding wars are going to be like they were in 21, right? It's not 21 bidding wars. It's like, yeah, the bidding war will get the house sold, but we're not hitting like record numbers either, right? Where in 21 you can list it for 999 and get 2 million, like anyone would pay any amount, right? So we're not back to like that kind of demand either. It's like slightly seller market versus in 21 was like hard seller market. Like you can throw anything and it'll stick.
22 was the big one.
Sorry,
right?
22.
Yeah,
22.
yeah.
Yeah.
May, June, July, August. You talk to some clients that still thought that it was, these yesterday pricing. That was more difficult. You had to explain to them, like, hey, like even prior to going on to a listing appointment, you would just tell them, like, you're aware of the market, right? Like, X amount of inventory. This is what we're seeing. Prices have dropped already 10, 15 points. By that time, like, you got to be, you have to understand that's where we are right now. But no, now everyone's pretty much on board. Like,
Right now in today's market, I give them a brief breakdown of how we saw prices drop in some areas up the 20 to 30%, and now we're kind of having that stability come back right now, where there is low supply, and now would be, I think, a little window to, if you had something to unload it right now, because
So you would say stability is on its way in the forefront.
we have a little bit of stability right now for sure. Now looking at our whole over economical problem, are we going to have that in 3, 4, 5 months? I don't know. If I had something to sell, I would sell it today.
so yeah, just to kind of touch on Mike's message there too. Like ultimately, you got to look at it. Okay, so look, we talked about lag time. Like we don't know. We know that the rates came up. People can't afford a lot of people can't afford mortgages. Are carrying heavy debt. We know that. Like Canada's the most leveraged country in the world. Maybe Toronto rather. Let's not talk about like the East Coast and stuff like that. But it's most leveraged city in the world. Let's call it. Okay, I think it was number one voted by. I forgot which. Whatever. They're voted number one leveraged city in the world. So the only way to get an idea of where we're going to be is if debt was eliminated. If debt is not taken care of, like the amount of debt people are carrying, then we have not eliminated the problem. We've only masked it. You understand? Like that's where you got to look at. The debt, how can you eliminate debt? Either you're going to pay it off, either you're going to have interest rates get lower so it becomes affordable. And the third thing is if you unload the asset, right? If you unload the asset, you take your money out or whatever's left of it. And the fourth is to lose it. So that's the only 4 ways to get rid of debt, realistically. You know what I'm saying? So either you're going to sell it, lose it, get lower interest rates so you can afford it,
Which you can.
can, or you're going to pay it off, which a lot of people can't. No, everyone's got a mortgage here. Hey guys, if you like these episodes, please like, share, and subscribe, and we'll get you on the next one.
Thanks, guys. See you later.